Welcome to the Makal'S Read and Lead audio podcast. Today, we embark on an eye opening journey into the heart of one of the most provocative ideas in modern economic history. Welcome once again to episode 2nd of our podcast series, where we dive deep into part first of a series on why nation fail, starting with the theme so close and yet so different. I am your host, and over the next 14 minutes, we will explore how even neighboring places can end up worlds apart in terms of prosperity, and why traditional theories cannot explain these disparities. Chapter first, so close and yet so different. Let's begin with a striking case study that forms the cornerstone of our exploration. Nogales, Arizona, and Nogales, Mexico. Imagine two cities that share the same name, border, and even much of the same natural landscape. Yet, on one side of the border, you see thriving business, modern infrastructure, and higher standard of living. On the other, poverty, limited opportunities, and struggling public services persist. How can two places so physically close and with similar resources experience such vastly different levels of prosperity? The answer, as Darren and Robinson propose, lies not in geography but in institutions, the set of formal and informal rules that govern economic, political, and social interactions. In Nogales, Arizona, institutions are designed to promote innovation, protect property rights, and allow for broad based participation in the economy. Here, inclusive institutions empower individuals, creating a virtuous cycle of prosperity. Contrast this with Nogales, Mexico, where extractive institutions dominate. These are systems engineered to concentrate power and wealth in the hands of a few, often at the expense of the broader society. In such environments, economic incentives and opportunities are stifled, innovation is suppressed, and the cycle of poverty persists. It is not that the natural resources or climate differ between the two cities, it is the institutions that make all the difference. This case study powerfully illustrates one of the book's core arguments. The fate of nation is largely determined by the quality and inclusivity of the institution, whether it's the rule of law, property rights, or access to economic opportunities. The way these frameworks are constructed can either unlock or limit a nation's potential. Moving on to chapter 2nd, titled Theories That Don't Work. Before Darren and Robinson offer their revolutionary insight into institutional differences, many scholars and policymakers looked elsewhere for explanations of economic disparity. Let's unpack these traditional theories and see why they fall short. First up is the geography hypothesis popularized by figures like Jeffrey. These theories argue that differences in climate, natural resources, and geography are the primary driver of economy success. While it is undeniable that geography can influence economic activity, the case of our twin cities, Nogales, Arizona, and Nogales, Mexico, poses a significant challenge. Both share the same geographical environment, yet their economic outcomes diverge dramatically. Geography, it turns out, is only part of the story. Next, we have the culture argument, often associated with the idea of Max Weber. Proponents of this view claim that culture factors, values, work ethics, social norms shape the economic destiny of nations. Again, the Nogales example is instructive. It is hard to argue that the inhabitants of two adjacent cities have fundamentally different culture values when the difference in prosperity is so stark. Culture, while influential, cannot explain the wide gulf in economic outcomes here. The finite traditional explanation is the notion of ignorance or simply bad policies. Essentially, that decision makers are simply unaware of the best economic practices or make short sighted choices. But consider this, if ignorance were the root cause, why would some regions continuously fail despite repeated opportunities to learn and adapt? The persistent cycle of failure in some nation indicates that the problem runs much deeper than a series of poor policy choices. It is not just that policymakers are making mistakes, it's that the very institutional framework constrains their ability to enact change. In chapter 2, Darren and Robinson systematically dismantle these traditional theories. They show that while geography, culture, and policy error can have an impact, they are not the fundamental drivers of economic divergence over the long run. Instead, it is the institutional framework, the rules and norms that govern society that determines whether a nation will prosper or fall into poverty. So, what do these two chapters teach us together? On one hand, the case study of Nogales starkly demonstrates that similar geographies can yield divergent economic realities when institutions differ. On the other, the critique of traditional theories reveals that factors like geography and culture, although not irrelevant, are insufficient explanations on their own. The real engine of growth or stagnation is the inclusivity or extractiveness of a nation's institutions. Imagine two identical machines built with different components. One is equipped with high quality gears and precise engineering. It runs smoothly and efficiently, producing exceptional output. The other, however, is constructed with poorly designed parts prone to frequent breakdowns. Even though the machines are built on the same blueprint, their performance diverges dramatically. Nations are much like these machines, where the institutional components, the laws, regulations, and societal norms determine the efficiency and success of the economy. Real world implication and takes away. This discussion is not merely academic, it has profound real world implications. Consider how countries today are grappling with corruption, inequality, and political instability. By understanding that the root of these issues lies in the quality of institutions, policymakers, citizens, and scholars can start to ask the right question. Are the rules of the game set up to benefit everyone, or do they merely serve a select few? How can we reform institutions to promote inclusivity and innovation? The insights from these chapters challenge us to rethink long held assumptions about why nations succeed or fail. They invite us to look beyond surface level factors and to focus on the deeper systematic issues that drive economic outcomes. And as we continue our podcast series, we will delve further into these themes, exploring how historical events and critical junctures have shaped the world we live in today. As we wrap up this first segment of a series on why nation fail, remember that the divergence between Nogales, Arizona and Nogales, Mexico is more than just a geographical quirk. It's a powerful reminder of how institutions shape our destinies. In our next episode, we will take an even closer look at how these institutional differences manifest in other historical and modern contexts and what lessons we can learn from them. Thank you for joining me on this intellectual journey. I am Aisha, your host, and this has been Makal's Read and Lead audio podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts. Together, let's continue to caution, learn, and unlock the mysteries of national success and failure. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and keep asking why nation fail and what can we do to change that.